All right, call the regular council meeting of Monday, October the 27th to order. There is one late item that I think has been circulated to all of you. It is one more letter for inclusion into the consent agenda. And I'll note that when its time comes. If there's no other items, I would look for a motion, please, to approve the agenda. Councillor Randawa, Councillor Adey. I note that Councillor Skelton Morvan is on screen. And we will proceed now to public comment regarding, oh, sorry, I've got to take a vote. One of those things that we do in democracies. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. All right. Opportunity for any member of the public that wants to come forward and comment on any item that is on the agenda. I don't see anybody moving to a microphone, so I will move on. On the consent agenda, there are minutes. There's minutes of the special meeting to close on October 14th. There's the minutes of the special meeting to close on October the 20th. Minutes of the regular meeting of October the 14th. There's correspondence for receipt from North Coast Regional District with regards to board highlights. And there is a letter, the late item, which comes to us from Community Futures, I believe, but it is a request that last time we met, council approved signing a petition with regards to workforce crisis in northern BC and a specific request for special immigration measures for the Northwest. This is to have a letter sent to Premier David Eby, which would outline basically the things that were said in the petition, which was aimed at the federal government. So with that, I would ask for a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda. Councillors Cunningham and Niche. Any discussion, anything there you want to draw a highlight to? Councillor Adey.
Just a question about the letter you were just talking about.
Yes.
If, you know, obviously the offending changes in the immigration rules are a federal matter, why wouldn't this letter also automatically go to the federal government as well?
Yeah. We can certainly, Deputy Miller, CC the federal minister.
No, for sure. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. All in, Councillor Forster.
Sorry, I just have a question about this same letter.
Yes.
Is the exact same letter coming from Terrace and Kitimat? Because I know it's got specific statistics for Prince Rupert, but not as many for Kitimat or Terrace. So I'm just curious, like, is Terrace got one that says how many of their Safeway workers, their McDonald's, their Walmart, all of those, or is this just one letter that everybody signs?
So I'm guessing just a little bit because this letter is looking to be signed by the three mayors. I am therefore assuming that it is the same letter that would be passed or not passed by the Terrace Council and the Kitimat Council. Yeah, but you're correct. The stats do largely talk about the Prince Rupert situation. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We move on to the reports. We have a report from planning with regards to temporary use permit 2502 First Avenue, 735 First Avenue West. The council approves the temporary use permit. That is the permit that would allow for a parking lot in the downtown. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Adey, is there a seconder? Councillor Niche. Have we had any feedback, Director Deputy Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. I'll let you.
Would you like Councillor Adey to go first?
That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did receive an email late Friday night from Caitlin Cooper expressing concerns about the TUP, and I will respectfully defer to CIO Pushy.
That's for the next one, is it not? That's for the second one, for the parking down at Bellis.
Yep, correct.
So
no.
So no.
Nothing for
Okay.
this one.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is the council approves the temporary use permit 2502. I had a motion to that effect, didn't I? Yeah. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Cunningham, did you have a question? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Now we move on to the report from planning with regards to temporary use permit 2503, unaddressed parcels on Bellis Road. And the recommendation is that council approves the temporary use permit. Deputy Miller. No, I'm going to bypass him. I'm going right on.
Clearly, that did not work in my favor the first time. We did receive an email regarding this TUP on Friday night from Caitlin Cooper, and I will respectfully defer to CAO Pucci to comment on that.
Yep.
Thank you. So there was an email that came in that talked about construction camp down on Bellis Road. Just for clarity, that it is not a construction camp like a Horizon North camp or a SIVA camp. It is for RV vehicles for the building of the facility or the units that are going to be built there. So it is specifically to help the workers that will be building that building there. So it's not a construction camp.
And I note that the author isn't speaking against them, rather asking that measures be taken to, make it as sightly as possible, right? And I would agree with the author. All right, Councillor Cunningham.
So I raised this point last time. If this is going to be, all our applicable bylaws are going to be in effect.
Correct.
So noise and things like that aren't a problem. But if it's going to be trailers, sanitary, garbage, and things like that, is my only concern. Because if you're living in a trailer and there's no temporary porta potties or things like that,
Right.
These are my only concerns that I think planning will probably have something to say about that.
Yeah.
When it does come up.
They have recommended approving the permit, so I'm comfortable with that. Did I have a motion on this? Okay, can I have a motion, please? Councillor Forster, Councillor Randhawa. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We were moving on to report from planning with regards to development permit number 2507, 121 9th Avenue East. The recommendation is that council approves the development variance permit DVP 2507. Councillor Adie, did you want to ask me a question?
Just wondering if there's any public feedback.
Deputy Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have not received any feedback.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Forster, Councillor Adie, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from planning with regards to official community plan amendment bylaw number 3667 2025 and zoning bylaw amendment application bylaw number 3668 2025. Recommendation is that council consider the official community plan amendment application bylaw number 3667 2025 and zoning bylaw amendment application bylaw number 3668 2025. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Niche, Councillor Cunningham. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from the Chief Administrative Officer and the Chief Financial Officer with regards to Budget 2026. CAO Pucci.
Thank you, Mayor. Just while our CFO gets set up here, I just want to say a few words about our budget. So, as someone born and raised in Prince Rupert, I've seen the challenges that the city of Prince Rupert has gone through, but I've also seen that we have a renaissance on our hands here, and we are pushing through on that. The 2026 budget embodies what I call resilience, commitment, and pride to our hometown. Our top priorities are completing our critical infrastructure projects and securing new funding for water treatment for our community, a vital thing that we need for generations of the future. We're also investing in our people, the dedicated staff who serve everyone every day. These are lifelong Prince Rupert residents, and we want to support their training and new procedures to help with our processes in City Hall and our other departments. I'm extremely proud of our senior leadership team and how well we work together. I want to point out that our finance team did an amazing job and spent hours putting this together, and we're really happy with the product. Equally, I'm grateful for our mayor and council who are committed to getting the job done. This is a responsible, community-driven, and future-focused budget that positions Prince Rupert for long-term success, sustainability, and growth. And now I'll hand it over to Corinne, and she can walk you all through it. Thank you.
Good evening, council, colleagues, and citizens, and I apologize for being on at the same time as the Blue Jays game. I promise that my presentation will be lengthy, so if you have a second screen or a picture-in-picture, go ahead. My name is Corinne Bombin, and I am the finance officer here at the city. I'm here to present the 2026 budget, which will begin our public component of the budget process. Oh, did I just get rid of everybody? No, they're okay. Our agenda will include the foundational components of the city's budget, including the process, assumptions, and the plans used to guide it. It will then identify the calculated deficit and the drivers that create it, along with the proposed impact on taxes with information known today. We will also address the continued inclusion and impact of the big project in the budget, followed by the identification of the capital and special project requests. Directors are present to answer questions during this part of the presentation. And finally, we will conclude with ways the public can provide feedback. Although this is our first presentation of the budget, the process started this past summer with plans for it to conclude with an approved 5-year financial plan in April of 2026. The legislated due date is May 15th. The reason it takes this long is we like to give council and the community the ability to inform staff of approved projects so staff can prepare for the fiscal year before it starts. All the while, we rely on BC Assessment's process, which doesn't conclude until the end of March, which informs the impact on our largest revenue stream, property taxes. This draft budget is provided for council and the community to learn the projects anticipated for 2026 and the anticipated cost to provide services at existing levels. This presentation and the accompanying document attached to the report to council begins the public engagement component of the budget process. Direction for the preparation of the 5-year financial plan received at the end of the process will enable staff to provide services at the beginning of the fiscal year and begin procurement if required. The budget has been prepared and requests made to align with council's strategic plan. In building the budget for 2026, there are certain financial plan assumptions that are embedded, including provision for statutory financial obligations and debt servicing requirements, ensuring provision for contractual requirements including wages, services, and supplies, including financial assistance to organizations through grants and permissive exemptions, making assumptions for energy and supply cost escalations, adherence to legislative requirements and strategic plans of council, maintaining service levels at those already in place, and maintaining sufficient cash on hand to meet obligations as they come due. The city pays for these services through 3 self-funded utility funds and an operating fund. Each utility has fees that pay for its function and capital infrastructure. The operating fund is funded through grants, leases, fees, and property tax. Operating pays for things like security services, recreation, and roads, amongst others. Property taxes do not pay for utilities, and likewise, utility fees do not pay for operating fund functions. Some of the highlights and changes in this year's budget are contractual increases, recognition of inflation changes over the year, continued work on wastewater treatment, outfalls, and wetland treatment, continued design, construction of the big water and sewer line project, and construction starting on grant-funded waterfront renewal projects. 57% of current revenues come from conditional grants, which means they must be spent on a specific project. This graph is an indicator of just how successful the city has been in securing outside funding for major projects. However, it is likely temporary. Once the big project is complete, this proportion of funding will be reduced. For the benefit of new citizens, Prince Rupert has sustained numerous road closures from frequent water repairs needed as a result of failing underground infrastructure. These repairs prompted the significant replacement effort called the BIG Project, which is an acronym for the Big Infrastructure Gap. The frequency of breaks is well outside the range of normal and is a direct result of not undertaking systematic, planned replacement even during tough economic times. In response, staff commissioned an infrastructure replacement study to identify high priority areas for replacement, which would support our grant requests, as well as help us target funds to the highest risk of failure areas. The sections in red are those proposed to be replaced over the next few years under the BIG project. This project will address water, sewer, and road infrastructure. This project was started in 2024, and some of the sections identified have been replaced, with the project continuing in this and subsequent budget years. As a result, the water and sanitary waste utilities budgets include the city-approved loan authorizations to contribute towards the BIG project, given a city contribution was a required condition of receiving federal grant money. The financial plan incorporates the approved utility increases necessary to pay the debt servicing costs associated with this contribution towards the water and sewer infrastructure replacement. As for the operating fund, after taking into consideration all fees and charges, increases, and known operating grants and interest on investments, our projected operating deficit for the general fund is $960,000. The drivers are presented on this slide, with contractual obligations for wages and benefits for staff and external service contracts making up $745,000 of the $960,000 deficit. The remaining drivers include inflation associated with energy and supplies, increases to the library and community enhancement grants, and a debt repayment for the new fire pumper truck acquired in 2025. The result of the operating deficit generated from the previously noted cost drivers is a proposed tax increase of 3.7% to balance the budget before we know the 2026 BC assessment values. This increase is based on the 2025 assessed values and works out to approximately an $80 increase for the average homeowner for the year of 2026. 2026's assessed values won't be known until January. Once we receive BC Assessment's roll, any new values from new growth added to the roll would reduce the tax increase proposed. The budget deficit does not include certain community enhancement cash grants requested, nor an increase to a grant under agreement with the Gulf Society. Council can consider to include them in the budget, understanding that they would present an additional increase. These items are included on page 71 of the budget document referenced. As in years past, one of the city's wholly owned corporations, Prince Rupert Legacy, is providing dividends which will be utilized to offset capital project costs that would either be funded through taxes or utility fee increases. This year, the anticipated property tax savings is 5% and water fee savings of nearly 42%. Dividends from Legacy are not utilized to offset property tax or utility increases that are driven by normal operating costs, because if funds were not available in the subsequent year or on a continuous basis, a spike in taxes or utility fees would occur. Property owners would essentially have to fund the inflation that was paid by dividends. This is why it is best to fund one-time capital or special project items through dividends, and why staff do not recommend offsetting inflationary operating increases in this manner. The city is a founding member of the Northwest Regional Benefits Alliance. Formed in 2014, the RBA is a regional association of 21 local governments, including 3 regional districts and 18 member municipalities. Since 2015, the RBA has worked closely with the BC government to address the unique challenges facing the Northwest. In the 2024 provincial budget, there was a $250 million 5-year commitment made to our municipalities, and the City of Prince Rupert receives $6.86 million annually as a part of that agreement. Projects proposed to be funded in 2026 by the Northwest BC Regional Funding Agreement have been noted with the stamp, as indicated here in the top right in the project description section of the document. We will now proceed with the new capital and special budget requests. Council will recall that we will go through each request and identify the funding source. The justifications are included in the budget document attached to the report to Council for you to follow along. Should Council have any questions, Council is asked to direct their question through the Mayor at the time a category is being presented, and the responsible staff member will approach the mic to take the question. We will interpret silence on a category as an indication that Council does not have a question at this time. I now ask you to turn to page 57 of the budget document.
Can I just pause you for a sec? I don't have a budget document. Can somebody get me one? Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Continue.
57. Before I identify the individual capital projects for 2026, I would like to point out that the table on the screen identifies the department the project is proposed in, the name of the project, the budgeted cost of the project, and how the funding of the project is proposed. Surplus represents revenue over expenditures from prior years. Reserves represents a legislated, required, or council-created reserve for a specified purpose, the use of which must meet the criteria the reserve was created for. Borrowing represents short-term or long-term debt. Grant is funds from other organizations, usually senior levels of government. Dividends represents dividends from just one of the city's 2 municipally owned corporations. Taxation represents property tax, and utility fees represents user fees in each respective utility. None of the capital projects or special projects funded through taxation for 2026 represent a property tax increase for 2026. We will now turn to our first item in the fire department. Under WorkSafe legislation, firefighters are required to have effective voice communication, and as such, the VHF radio system used by the fire department is to be converted to a UHF system to eliminate dead zones in the municipality. This was an approved project in 2024 with radios purchased in 2025. The remainder of the project, which includes the repeaters and associated towers, will be carried over to 2026. The cost has increased over the original proposed budget, with $590,000 funded by surplus and the remaining increase proposed to be funded by existing taxation.
Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I'm reading through the comments, it is acknowledged that this was approved in 2024 and then also 2025, and then we're going to see it for 2026. Will we expect to see it again in 2027? Like, is this a multi-year investment, or is this something different?
Director Bombin.
I can answer that without the fire chief approaching. It really came down to getting a better understanding of exactly what the needs were, and then beginning an RFP. And then once we got the RFP, we found out that we needed more funding.
But that will be it.
Let's hope.
Okay. There's the CFO.
I'm optimistic.
All right, next.
That's the O in CFO. The next item is the removal of carpeting on the upper floor of the fire hall to be replaced with vinyl flooring to improve cleaning and safety. Funding of the $60,000 project is proposed through surplus.
No question. Councillor Randhawa.
So, I'm sorry if I missed something. So that surplus is for the fire already sitting there in the fund, or?
The surplus is existing?
Yes, it's existing revenue over expenses from previous years. in the operating fund, which includes the fire department.
Okay. All right. Carry on.
The next item on page 58 is the replacement of the original boiler plant at the Lester Center. Funding was approved in 2025 to obtain designs and a budget estimate to replace the old boilers with a new high-efficiency system. The replacement of this heating source will ensure the continuity of the theater and support the arts in Prince Rupert. Funding is proposed through surplus and an unsecured grant. City Hall is a 3-story building with the 3rd floor access.
Just going to pause you
Oh,
for a second.
pardon me.
Any questions on the Lester Center? Comments? No? Okay, continue. Thanks.
The over 60-year-old elevator has been breaking down recently, with the latest rendering the elevator inoperable for 3 weeks. The elevator ensures accessibility to the 3rd floor where council chambers is located. Design and engineering for a future replacement is planned for 2026 and is proposed to be funded by surplus.
Continue.
The next item is the funding of the Public Works relocation project. Council awarded a contract to renovate the McCarthy property and construct a purpose-built 2-story office, lunchroom, and locker building. The project is funded through dividends, surplus, and use of the Northwest BC Regional Funding Agreement allocation, previously known as funding through RBA efforts.
Councillor Cunningham.
So what's going to be the final cost on this? Because we seem to be seeing this every year, and it seems to be a little more, a little more, and a little more. So is this the last time we're going to see something on this building?
Director Bombin.
I've been told that because the building is going up right now, that this is the last year, and Public Works is intended to be moving in 2026.
Thank you. Carry on.
Page 59 begins the Recreation Department capital projects, all of which are proposed to be funded through the Northwest Regional funding received through the RBA efforts. The pool requires the replacement of its ultraviolet system to complement the chlorine disinfection system. This replacement will enable the pool to maintain regulatory compliance. Budget is $495,000. The next item is resurfacing the arena pad at the ice rink to grind down the high spots that have been experienced through subsurface heaving. This project is expected to extend the life of the arena pad another 10 years. Budgeted cost is $150,000. The final capital request from Recreation is for improvements to the exterior of the Aquatic Center. The project proposes to install metal cladding along the south side of the pool, which is in the worst condition. This project was approved for 2025, however, quotes were higher than expected. Additional allocation of funding will bridge the gap so the project can proceed in 2026. Total cost is $170,000.
Any questions on the rec? Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I assume for the recreation ice rink resurfacing, as I read this, it sort of intimates to me that there might be some climate relation to this, like some of the changes might be because of climate change. I assume that we would also be applying for some of the climate change grants through the provincial government.
Director Bombin.
Even though I know this is reserved, but
Right.
Thank you for the question. For now, we are planning on using the RBA reserve. We are always looking for climate grants. We have committed all of our LGCAP funding for other projects.
Thank you.
The next item is to continue the city's annual land purchase program. This program identifies properties that would be strategic for the city to own and allows staff to assess and purchase if necessary. Funding is through a specified land reserve. I will mention that this is an annual allocation. We don't always use it. This just allows staff the ability and the authorization. The next item is for continued maintenance of the Watson Island dams to ensure regulatory compliance with the provincial dam safety branch. Funding is proposed through dividends, given it is associated with Watson Island. The city operates a ferry to access the Prince Rupert Airport located on Digby Island. The dock on the Digby Island side is showing deterioration and requires maintenance to ensure protection of this transportation link. Budget of $100,000 is proposed to be funded from surplus. We will now present the civic improvements projects. The next item on page 62 is the continuation of the streetlight replacement program. Cost is funded through existing taxation. The next item is the waterfront development at the Rotary Park area. This is an approved project that is being carried over to 2026, and it is entirely funded through a grant. There is allocation in 2027 for the remainder of the waterfront development project, given it is expected to bridge over 2 years. The next project is the Memorial Plaza dedicated to Japanese Canadians who were removed from our community during World War II. This is an approved project that required additional funding to meet the project scope. It is all funded by a secured grant. We are now on page 63 of the budget document. The city's fleet and heavy equipment was evaluated to identify order of priority replacement, given units have not been replaced on a schedule and around half incur significant parts and downtime cost. This $700,000 budget is proposed to meet the replacement program report recommendations, enabling flexibility to purchase items that are available in the current budget year. The funding is proposed out of equipment reserves. The next item continues the use of equipment reserves to begin transitioning the city fleet to electric vehicles. Budget of $300,000 is allocated for this purpose, and we always look for climate action grants for these types of projects.
Councillor Ady.
With regard to that last one, is there a plan then to put an electric vehicle charging facility at the new yard?
I will defer the question to Director Schmidt.
Schmidt. Director Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Right now, we're looking at putting one in at the new yard. We have the infrastructure put in at the old existing Public Works building, and it should be relatively easy to move it over when we move over to that building permanently.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cunningham.
So it's my understanding you're actually putting charging stations in the old yard right now? Is that what you just said?
Director Schmidt.
We have charging infrastructure in there right now, and we have one electric vehicle right now with plans to buy a heavy duty vehicle right now charging at that facility. And then the actual infrastructure can be moved. It's the fast chargers, stage 2 chargers. We would just have to look at where we put them on the new building.
So the one you've installed can be moved.
That's correct.
Like I'm just finding that here we've got a new yard coming up within a year, and you're putting charging infrastructure in the old yard that has to be moved. I'm wondering why it wasn't installed in the new yard so the vehicles could be charged there overnight.
CEO Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We needed to put one in at the old yard because we do have an electric fleet vehicle right now that needs to be charged. So we put one in at the old yard, but it can be relocated to the new yard.
Just one?
We have just one right now, correct? And then we're looking at purchasing a heavy duty piece of equipment that would require charging as well. Thank you.
Continue.
At page 64 is the renewal at Eidsvik Park. This project is proposed to cost $500,000, funded in part through the Resource Benefit Alliance, with the remaining $450,000 funded through grants. Sorry, $50,000 is funded out of RBA, $450,000 is funded out of grants. This was an approved project that has come in with a higher ticket than originally anticipated. Additional funding is proposed through the grant. This year, the Operations Department is proposing to replace the rubber matting at Mariners Park, given its condition has deteriorated in our climate. A more suitable product will be procured. Funding for this project is proposed through the RBA agreement funds placed in reserve.
Councillor Ady, sorry, thank you.
On the Eidsvik Park, I see that we're still chasing $234,000 in a grant to finish that
Correct.
off.
Correct.
This one's been around since my first year in this chair. And at some point in that process, it became the half twin of the 4th Avenue walkway. My understanding is the 4th Avenue walkway is looking to be done this year. All things going as is hoped. I guess what I'm saying about this one is when we look at a neighborhood that literally, since the closing of Westview and the removal of Westview's schools equipment, that you've got an entire neighborhood that literally has nothing in the way of equipment for children, and yet, you know, when you drive by that location, you see families up there with their kids making the best of it. So I guess what I'm going to, in some ways, repeat advocacy that I've been a part of for a number of years, and I would like to think that if we get to the end of this budget and it still hasn't worked, we still haven't found the money to finish it, that we would look at either scaling it differently in order to take the existing funds and make it happen, or look at alternative ways of raising the money we need to finish it off.
Thank you. Continue.
Turning to linear transportation, budget is proposed for repairs on the 2nd Avenue Bridge to extend the life of the asset and retain the weight approvals. The cost is estimated at $2 million and is funded through RBA funds. Rounding out the transportation department is annual funding for the sidewalk and road paving programs. The sidewalk program has increased for 2026 to attend to targeted safety improvements funded from surplus, with the continued program funded out of existing taxation. In 2025, the city allocated new tax revenues from growth towards the annual paving program, thereby increasing the budget by 40%. This year's budget continues the use of these existing taxation revenues and retains the paving program at its new fully funded level of $1.4 million. This concludes the general fund capital projects. We are now moving to the water utility at page 66 of the document. We are continuing the annual water line repair program and retaining the budgeted amount of $1 million funded through existing utility fees. Budget is requested to design a permanent chlorination facility at the Roosevelt area, along with the development of additional water storage reservoirs. The intent is to improve water quality in the area of the community the furthest away from our water source. This project would also improve water storage capacity, aligning with best practices and scaling up for future demand. The budget of $600,000 is proposed out of water surplus. The final capital project for water is continued work on water treatment engineering. Budget of $1.15 million is proposed to be funded through reserves, grant, and borrowing. The first item at the bottom of page 67 of the document is a wastewater treatment project to treat wastewater from the Omanika Avenue area. The project is anticipated to cost $10 million, funded in part from surplus, existing utility fees, and an unsecured UBCM Strategic Priorities Grant, which was applied for in September of this year. This project is critical to ensuring compliance with federal and provincial wastewater regulations. The next item is funding to undertake a full feasibility study and detailed design for the wastewater treatment system to ensure long-term compliance. This project is budgeted at $500,000, funded through surplus and utility fees. The next item is the continued outfall program, camera program rather. This program is an ongoing requirement under senior levels of government. Funding for the $25,000 cost is proposed out of surplus. We are continuing the annual wastewater line repair program and have allocated $600,000 funded through existing utility fees. The major solid waste capital project for 2026 is upgrades to the lagoon treatment system. This is necessary as a part of the landfill operational certificate, with the cost of $6.4 million being funded through a combination of surplus, grant, and RBA funds. This is the last item in the utilities capital projects. Moving on to page 70, we now will identify special projects. The first is the repair of 2 landings of the fire hall hose tower in the amount of $20,000 funded through surplus. The Recreation Department has obtained a grant for a GHG feasibility study to explore options to increase energy efficiency in the refrigeration system with opportunities to utilize heat recovery. Energy studies are required to obtain senior level grants. This feasibility study will enable qualification to apply for those senior level grants in the future, which will aid capital project costs in the recreation complex. The next item is budget for technology upgrades within the recreation complex, inclusive of door fobs and audiovisual equipment. Budget of $11,000 is proposed out of surplus. The next item is the continuation of our asset management program. This program is a condition of continuing to receive Northwest BC regional funding. Funding for this program is through a dividend. The next item is the completion of a public healing space outside the Civic Center for $20,000. This is proposed to be funded with RBA funds. Operations is requesting funding for the next phase in improving the safety culture at Public Works. Budget of $100,000 is requested to implement the recently obtained standard work and field hazard assessment procedures. Funding is proposed through the use of surplus and dividends. The next item on page 72 is from administration regarding customer service training and collective agreement administration for new directors. Budget of $20,000 is proposed from surplus. The next item is a grant-funded project in partnership with Tourism Prince Rupert, Community Futures of the Pacific Northwest, and the Prince Rupert and District Regional Archives to create new tourism and cultural infrastructure paying tribute to the city's heritage. Local artists are proposed to create works of art depicting historic photos, and interpretive content would be available to entice predominantly visitors and community members to continue their journey from the waterfront to the downtown core. The final special project relates to an updated LiDAR and ortho imagery dataset. This information is used on our GoMap platform and supports urban planning, public safety, infrastructure management, and environmental stewardship. The $80,000 budget is proposed through a grant. One of the advantages of conducting the budget process in the fall is that community enhancement grants can be considered at the same time as the city's budget. Page 74 through 78 of the document identifies repeat and new community enhancement grant applicants, along with organizations with funding agreements. Staff have proposed budgeted retaining 2025 cash funding levels and increased the in-kind awards. Council is requested to deliberate on the applicants and provide direction to staff as to any changes. Page 19 of the document identifies the property tax impact of funding 100% of the requests. And to acknowledge the group that came before you at the Community of the Whole today, their in-kind ask has already been included in the budget in full. We will now finalize the presentation with information to calculate impact and provide property owner feedback. We have calculated the proposed property tax increase with the deficit at existing service levels. The proposed residential mill rate, including the increase, can be used for all residential properties to gauge the specific impact. Currently, residential property owners can use their 2025 assessment multiplied by the proposed rate of 5.46670 as shown on the slide. Please make sure you divide your assessed value by 1,000 first, or you will get an amount that might make you pass out. Follow the formula, please. The same is true for when 2026 assessed values are released, although at that time the rate may be different. We will keep council and the public informed about potential changes to the proposed rate early in 2026. A reminder that the tax rate proposed only addresses the city's operations. The property tax notice includes 5 other taxing jurisdictions that we are required to collect for. Of the 2025 tax notice, approximately 65% of the total owing went to the City of Prince Rupert for its operations. Another reminder we want to ensure viewers are aware of are the provincial government's homeowner grant and the tax deferral program. These programs are available to reduce property taxes paid for residents and can defer the tax payments through a loan that is recovered at the time of sale. Details of these programs can be found on the provincial government website, the city's website, or on your property tax notice. Homeowners must make annual application to the province for the homeowner grant before the tax payment deadline on July 2nd, or a provincial penalty will be applied. The homeowner grant for 2026 can be applied for in the new year, but if it was missed for 2025, you can still apply for it now. The link and the phone number for more information and to make application is on this page. The budget document and this presentation will be available online tomorrow. We will begin the opportunities for in-person public feedback starting on Monday, November 10th, followed by November 24th here in Council Chambers at 7 p.m. on each date. There's also another opportunity for the public to meet with directors on November 13th between 5 and 6 p.m. at the Raven Youth Lounge at the Recreation Complex. And we welcome questions, comments through email to finance@princerupert.ca or taken by phone at 250-627-0914. And of course, we can receive them by mail or at the front counter at customer service in City Hall. We will again be making our budget simulator available to the public to provide information and obtain feedback on the proposed budget and property tax rate from the comfort of your desktop or mobile device. Results of submissions are provided to Council for consideration, as is interaction data indicating areas of public interest. This simulation tool will be available tomorrow and open until 7 p.m. on November the 14th. And I know it's very hard to see, but included on the bottom right of the simulation landing page is a link to obtain what is called a taxpayer receipt. This is an example of the taxpayer receipt for an average assessed value home. It identifies the allocation of tax-funded costs for the year by department. Homeowners can go to the city simulation and click on taxpayer receipt to find the allocation of municipal taxes to each service according to the value of their home. So instead of doing the calculation as was noted in the slides before, you could go to the simulation, click on the taxpayer receipt and just put in the assessed value of your home from 2025, and it would give you what your 2026 estimated residential municipal tax receipt would be. Finally, thank you for the opportunity to present.
Very good. Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you very much for the presentation, as usual, it was excellent. But the only thing I'd like to see is if we could in some way find a way to fully fund special events. You know, their presentation was excellent, but what they bring to this community is far more important than what 0.31%. You know, just the Seafest alone, what it brings into this town for extra money with hundreds, thousands of people coming here for that event. You know, just on taxi fares alone, I'm quite sure Councillor Gravinder can say it's a very busy day for just the taxis alone. You know, so if there's some way we can move figures around, whether it's in kind or whatever, to bump them up to what they need, I think it's something I'd like staff to take a look at and see if they could do within the perimeters of what CFO Corinne's has done. But
What we'll do, first of all, those kinds of comments are perfect for where we're at right now. But we'll allow also the public to make their, comments back to us. And then at some point in time, council will arm wrestle through literally approving an extra 10,000 here, an extra 2,000 there, stripping out it, as we did last year. And sometimes that results in the tax increase going up, or sometimes we find the money out of something else. But that'll definitely, there will be a time for that specifically. Yeah. Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Well done. So, can you calculate how much we using the dividends and the RPA and for this budget? And if we don't have that one, like RBA or dividend, how much tax would be going up for?
How much the difference would be?
Yeah, how much difference and how much tax we have to increase if we have not, that one is not available there.
Yeah. Director Bombin.
Actually, on one of the slides, it did mention that without Legacy's dividends, the property tax increase would have gone up by another 5% for capital projects alone. And then I believe it was about 42% would have been an increase for the water utility. And that makes up part of the loan repayment for the dam and the McBride Street water line replacement. That's included in that debt servicing cost that Legacy is paying. As far as the RBA, we can actually show that, and I'm quite happy to do that. Just know that it's 6.86 million last year and 6.86 million this year, and we are actually spending money from 2027 because we received it early, and we're allocating a bunch of it this year as well. So from a taxation perspective, it would depend on what was funding general operating capital items. And as far as the water and sewer and landfill utilities, it would depend on how much was going towards those. But I can go ahead and present that at the next presentation on November the 10th.
I did a rough crank through here, and there's always a danger when you do a rough. But I counted 9 projects funded by RBA totaling 8.5 million, roughly. So somebody with a calculator can do better than that. But
Mr. Mayor, I would mention that this is just the new projects that are in this document.
Yes.
There is also the continuing projects that will be carried forward from last year that were funded through the Resource Benefit Alliance as well.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And again, I mean, I really appreciate the highlighting and the presentation of all those RBA dots. We need people to understand, when I say we, the RBA communities need people to understand it was a 5-year deal, which we hope to extend. We want you to have a look at what the RBA is doing, because that's funding stuff we would have never done. The idea behind the RBA wasn't that it's a chance to reduce taxes for people, but it was a chance to do more in our communities so that our communities are more livable. And that was the argument we put forward to the province. The premier, thankfully, was the one who drove the project home. And so annually, over the course of 5 years, each year we get $6.8 million. That will dry up at the end of 5 years, if there's not a push from the communities to say, Mr. Premier, please, we need more. We need that to keep coming. So thank you very much for that. I have Councillor Forster, I believe. Were you asking? I thought I saw your hand move.
I might have, and I can't remember, and it'll come back to me
All
later.
right.
But I
Coun-
am very grateful for the presentation and for answering all the questions I've had so far. Thank you.
Wonderful. Councillor Cunningham, and I've got a list here. So
You sort of hit onto it, Mayor Pond. One of the conditions of the RBA is it isn't there to lower taxes.
No.
The minute the province finds out we're using it to lower taxes, we lose it.
it's over.
That was from day one.
Yeah.
I've been there since 2013 on that committee.
Yeah.
And they overemphasize that every year.
Yeah.
We can't even hint that we're using it for lowering taxes.
Yeah.
So it's being used over and over again for capital projects that we couldn't do.
No.
And if we did do them, it would raise taxes, but we can't sort of talk that way in the same same breath with the province, because they'll just pull the rug out right from underneath our feet.
Councillor 80.
I just want to start by acknowledging all the work that has gone into this. It's an annual labor. I'm not sure we'll call it a labor of love. Maybe it is. But it's a considerable effort, and it's a complex effort. I also want, in light of my previous comments, to acknowledge the work that goes into chasing down those grants.
Yeah.
It has to be sometimes a win, sometimes a loss, but it has to be sometimes very frustrating trying to make some of those things work. And I very much appreciate the effort of those who do the applications and make the phone calls. And I did have a question about what you said about the RBA money, and also acknowledging what you said about the need to advocate for its continuance as a program. We are spending money from the 2027 allocation. So I guess it seems to me that it must mean that in 2027 we may find ourselves with fewer apples on the tree, and we'll have to respond accordingly. I guess I can frame that in the form of a question.
Your math is accurate. I'll let Director Bauman fill in the blanks.
I'd be happy to provide all of the allocations at the November 10th meeting. And there was, if I can reframe the question, I believe, at the March 2025 meeting of council, there was the plan, the long-term development plan for use of RBA funds was adopted. So it's changed a bit, and we will have to go back and amend it based on some of the things that have come up, particularly the Second Avenue Bridge. Did that answer the question, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, in essence, because we've dipped into 2027 a bit, there'll be less in 2027.
Exactly, there will be less because we did receive a bunch early, and we were told that we were allowed to go ahead and start spending it, even though it was our an allocation from a future year.
Councillor, where was I going next? I was going to Councillor Niche.
I just wanted to kind of highlight a few things as far as the community enhancement grants go, and looking through the list, and I see if we were to approve all the requests, that's an additional 0.43% on top of the tax increase already. And noting, like we had the presentation, special events, so they're asking actually for 7,000 more in kind and also an additional 15,000 in cash. So obviously a change of $22,000 in funding. And then that's just some of the stuff I picked up on. But one question I have is the agreements that are up for renewal in the museum and the Lester Center and the golf course. Have we been given any information as to what their additional requests are as far as like why they need these additional requests yet?
So document support for what these organizations are asking for.
The information that they provided was just inflation increases. They are nominal. I believe that the Leicester Centers is somewhere around 4%, and the museum is somewhere or closer to 3%. Those ones have been accommodated. The only other one that is sitting there is the golf course, and theirs is $30,000 for a capital contribution. Of the amounts that you just listed for the Special Events Society, the $7,000 additional in kind has already been accommodated in this budget. What hasn't been accommodated is the additional $15,000 in cash grant. So that would be something that council could go ahead and direct anyway. $15,000 does not make up the 0.31% allocation, increase in taxes that would be required for all of the cash requests. That 0.31% includes Tourism Prince Rupert's cash request, which I believe is somewhere in the neighborhood of $58,000 more than they received last year. So when you add that one to the special events and I believe the Arts Council, it adds up to $108,000, which equates to the 0.31% tax increase.
And just in the spirit of Councillor Nisha's question, do we know what the Tourism Prince Rupert request was for?
Mostly for the container market, but also because of increased rent at the Atlin terminal.
Okay. Councillor Nisha, I think you had a follow-up.
Yeah, that was just kind of, I was going to ask that question.
Okay.
So I'm good.
Good. Any other questions, Council? I want to compliment you. This is a great document. Like, it's really clear. Now, I know that there's parts and pieces to it that, you know, you do the numbers and everything else, and Manager Stewart with her magic touch puts together, it makes it look pretty, and it's just really comprehensive. I think anybody from the public that would read through this document would have a really strong sense. Not to say they wouldn't have questions or even objections, but as the beginning of a conversation, this is a really wonderful jumping off point. Thank you.
I would like to thank all of the directors for participating, but I would also like to, in addition to Ms. Stewart, our communications manager, who does a fabulous job putting together the document itself and the presentation and all of the social media posts and our website. I also need to direct a lot of gratitude towards the man behind the curtain, which would be Deputy CFO Tristan Higginson.
When you say man behind the curtain, I see a very short man. Yeah.
Well, he was short this summer when we were, in the spring, so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, Council? We'll continue on with the agenda. Thank you very much. There are bylaws. We have a bylaw. City of Prince Rupert Official Community Plan Bylaw Amendment, Bylaw number 3667. Recommendations that Council give first and second readings to the City of Prince Rupert Official Community Plan Amendment, Bylaw number 3667. And that Council consider City of Prince Rupert Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 3667 in conjunction with its financial plan and any other liquid waste management plans in effect, and that Council proceed to the public hearing. Can I have a motion to that effect? Forrester and Councillor Adey. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. City of Prince Rupert zoning bylaw. Recommendation that Council give first and second readings to the City of Prince Rupert zoning bylaw amendment number 3668, 2025, and that Council proceed to the public hearing. Can I have a motion, please, to that effect? Councilors Nation, Cunningham. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. I have the one item that came out of the Committee of the Whole, which was the motion by Councillor Forrester and seconded by Councillor Randawa. I'm not even going to repeat it, but can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Forrester and Councillor Randawa again. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Council Roundtable, it's your turn. Councilor Randawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few community member approached me, like they said, like something should be done. These lights for the pedestrians. There's some very close calls happen to them, like they start walking and people didn't stop and almost hit them. So this is some safety concern should be done there, like something should be done.
At specific intersections or?
Yeah, this one.
This one,
Yes,
this one here?
Yes, yes. But the pedestrian they approach, they say like they had very close calls, like they start walking and
Yeah.
people didn't stop
Yeah.
there. So something should be.
So, yeah, CEO Pucci, I'm at a bit of a loss to know what we can do at that. I mean, other than replacing the light at $400,000.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Mr. Mayor. What we can do, we can take those comments away, and we can have something in consent from questions from council in the new section, and we can do a little bit of a review and come back with some.
Councilor
So
Randall.
one thing they approach, like they say, like I don't know, like mostly people know flashing red mean like four-way stop.
Yeah.
But they say in case we install like stop sign to like four-way, right? So then everybody know like
Yeah.
something like that could be done or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Councilor Nish.
Just to add to that conversation, you know, I mean, I think generally, I think most people are actually happy with that being a four-way stop.
Yeah.
But maybe a thought for staff would be to maybe look at what the cost would be of just maybe installing warning devices for crossings, because that might be something that you know can be a lot cheaper than what we were looking at as far as the lights go, and you know, because I do generally think that most people are happier with the four-way stop there.
It's interesting. I think most people would share the observation. The only time it gets a little bit tight is around the 4 o'clock hour, and it's because all of the traffic's been sort of cycled up Third Avenue as a result of the work on the roundabout. Right, we just an unusual amount of traffic is coming up that road. But I agree with you. I think people do find it useful. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things. We heard from Special Event Society about the event happening this Friday
Yes.
for Halloween. Just wanted to remind everybody in the public on Friday, if it's raining, even if it's not, there's going to be lots of little kids out there. So stay safe and hopefully go to the well-lit event that's happening at the Civic Center. And my other thing was just to congratulate all the unionized workers that went back to work today. For some of them, they've been on a picket line for 7-8 weeks, which is a long time to be on decreased wages. So congratulations to all of them on having tentative agreements.
Councillor Cunningham.
On the intersection out here, Fulton and Third, you know, possibly if the RCMP were to sit there for a while and start enforcing, I watch cars, one goes and the one behind it follows them without stopping. I watch between 4 and 6, lots of people making left-hand turns when they're still illegal. And I watch lots of cars. I almost got hit one Sunday morning going that way. I don't know why I hesitated, and a car came down Fulton and went right through, full speed, 50 kilometers. So it doesn't matter what you do. If people are going to be idiots when they drive, they're going to be idiots when they drive. And the same with pedestrians. You know, if you look at the Motor Vehicle Act, pedestrians aren't supposed to leave the curb until it's safe. It's partially their responsibility. Somebody walking down the street on their phone just walks straight out. You know, it's public awareness both in a car and walking that has to be addressed. You know, and what cost do we start babysitting people? I don't know, but it's, you know, you stand on that corner and watch sometimes, it's just ridiculous.
Anything else? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillors Cunningham and Nish, all in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Meeting is adjourned.